The Plains of Eidolon is an open-world zone on Earth, occupied by the Grineer. This zone has a day and night cycle where you can participate in mining, fishing, beast conservation, bounties, and at night, hunting down endgame bosses known as Eidolons. There are two syndicates related to the Plains, known as Ostron and the Quills, which are reputation grinds that you have to rank up with in order to access what this open world offers. These syndicates can be found on Cetus, which is the social hub for the Plains of Eidolon. The reason for ranking up in these syndicates and doing this open world zone is to get access to cosmetics, mods, weapons, frames, focus lenses, arcanes, amp parts, and Zaws, which are modular melee weapons with interchangeable parts that you can customize with specific stats to fit your needs. You can even give them a custom name. Before you start an open world zone like the Plains of Eidolon, it is important to note that this should be considered endgame content. You should have a wide variety of upgraded mods, defensive and offensive frames with decent builds, obtain at least Mastery Rank 5 or higher, and be done with the quests, most notably the Archwing, the Second Dream, and the War Within questlines. When you first enter Cetus, you will be greeted by a cutscene introducing you to the social hub. Your first stop should be to Kanzu, which is located by the front entrance to the Plains, or you can go to the main menu and fast travel directly to any NPC. Kanzu will give you an introductory bounty that will let you enter the open world zone. Simply enter through the gates and start your mission. You will find the Plains to be too big to navigate without an Archwing. In the beginning, you can open up your map and fast travel to different points to get to your objectives faster. Finish your mission and return to Cetus. When you return, Kanzu will have the Size Vigil quest available, which is a fairly straightforward mission that will introduce you to the Plains, the endgame bosses known as Eidolons, and when finished, will unlock the blueprint for the frame Gara. Make sure you do this quest. Kanzu will also allow you to do higher tiers of bounty missions if you are at the required mastery rank. The higher the tier, the harder the mission. Here you can see the possible rewards from common to rare you can hope to obtain by doing these bounties. These bounties refresh and change their possible rewards on a 2.5 hour cycle. You can also see the amount of standing points each bounty rewards. The Syndicate Ostron requires a certain amount of standing points in order to rank up. There are 5 ranks with Ostron, with each succeeding rank requiring more standing points to rank up. Bounties give a fair amount of standing points, but you are limited by your daily standing cap, which determines how many standing points you can obtain in a given day before the daily reset. When you max out your daily standing, you can obtain more the next day or when your daily reward resets. First, let's do a tier 1 bounty. In any bounty, you can expect a mix of random stages that include defensive, rescue, escort, capture, exterminate stages, and finding hidden caches.
Dude, where the f*** is it? Oh.
At each stage, you will get 1 reward from the pool list. Each stage gives a bonus objective. If you complete each bonus objective of every stage, you will gain additional standing points, and at the final stage, you will gain 1 additional reward from the pool list. With your first bounty completed, you now have enough standing points to buy basic mining and fishing equipment. We can now fast travel to the mining vendor. You will notice that in order to buy anything from the vendors in Cetus, it requires a certain amount of standing points. You will also notice that most of this merchandise is locked from you, requiring you to rank up with the Ostron Syndicate to get full access to every vendor's wares. In short, Ostron standing points are used to rank up and to buy merchandise from vendors. For your first purchase, let's buy the Nosum Cutter. This vendor also has special offers that usually include some refined gems in exchange for platinum. Platinum is the real-world currency exchange for in-game currency. Most of the community would agree that it is not worth spending your platinum on these materials, as you can mine these minerals throughout the plains with little effort. When you get to mining and acquiring a large amount of minerals, you can also trade your uncut gems for Ostron standing points. I personally wouldn't recommend doing this though, as you will need a lot of gems to make a lot of different items in your foundry. It is usually a safer bet to get standing points through doing bounties. Next, let's fast travel to the fishing vendor. Like with the mining vendor, the same rules about syndicate rank and standing points apply here. At your initial rank, you will have access to 3 different fishing spears. I recommend you try and get all of them at some point, as each spear is most effective for catching different types of fish. For your first purchase, I recommend grabbing the Lonzo fishing spear, as this will effectively catch any common fish you will find on the plains. Additionally, you can also buy various types of baits, with pepper bait being initially available to you. I recommend saving your standing points and not buying this bait, as this only increases the amount of common fish you will see while fishing. Instead, buy a couple of luminous dye, as this item will highlight any fish in your vicinity, making it easier to catch fish. The This vendor will also have special offers in exchange for platinum. You can provide fish that you have caught in exchange for standing points, and most importantly, you can cut fish, which when supplied will give you valuable resources you will need to build various items in your foundry, and even resources needed to further your rank with the Ostron Syndicate. One of the important reasons for doing fishing and mining on the plains is that the Ostron Syndicate will require you to obtain certain mining and fishing resources in addition to standing points to get to the next rank. To equip your mining and fishing gear, you must equip them to your gear wheel, either on Cetus or your orbiter. Once equipped, head out to the plains. Keep in mind you don't need to be on an active bounty to enter the plains. If you just want to focus on mining and fishing, you can also set yourself to solo. Once on the plains, access your gear wheel. Let's equip our mining cutter. Your UI will now change with the right side showing your distance to a given mineral deposit vein. Your left side will show you how many veins are in a given area. These veins are indicated by bright red or blue colors. Red indicates the vein is an ore, blue indicates the veins are gems. These veins can be found throughout the plains, mostly on rocks, cliffsides, and even inside caves you can discover from your map. When you are close to a vein, a faint diamond-shaped object will appear over it. When aiming your cutter, 1 to 3 drilling spots will appear. You can also hit your secondary fire button to further zoom in. Your goal is to try and stop firing your cutter as close to the middle of these white brackets as possible. The closer you are to the middle, the more minerals the vein will yield, indicated by the progress gauge at the top. Occasionally, some veins will have a smaller bracket that if you successfully stop firing in the middle of, will give you bonus minerals. In addition, if you have a resource booster, this will increase the amount of minerals you get while mining. When you reach rank 4 with the Ostron Syndicate, you will get access to the Advanced Nosem Cutter, which will increase your detection range and even show you veins on your minimap. I would save your standing points and not buy the Focused Nosem Cutter, as it doesn't upgrade your cutter significantly. Next, let's focus on fishing. You will equip your fishing spear the same way you equipped your mining cutter. Head to any body of water and simply wait a short while and fish will appear. Keep note that you must have your spear in hand for fish to appear. You can hold your corresponding button to access a submenu that lets you view and equip your different baits and dyes. Fish come in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. Their size indicates how many standing points they are worth if you decide to provide fish, or how many resources they will net you if you decide to cut your fish. If you cut your fish, every fish will provide fish meat, scales, and oil, but each type of fish provides a resource that is unique to them. Fish are home to many different biomes found on the plains. There are lakes, ponds, and oceans, each filled with different types of fish. In addition, some fish are only found at night. The plains has a day and night cycle with day lasting 100 minutes and night lasting just 50 minutes. You can view this by accessing your map or when selecting the plains on the star chart. The Warframe wiki has a valuable resource that breaks down which biome each fish can be found, what time of day they are available, which fishing spear is most effective in catching them, and the resource each fish nets through cutting. This wiki will also show you the fish you will need a bait for in order to catch them. When you start to rank up with the Ostron Syndicate, more of the vendor's merchandise will become available to you, with the mining vendor selling you different types of cutters and blueprints you can use to refine your mining materials. And from the fishing vendor, you will get access to different types of baits which you will need to catch rarer types of fish. You should make it your goal to at some point get every mining blueprint and get a couple of baits depending on what you are fishing for. Your first focus should be to buy from the mining vendor the Tear of Azurite blueprint, which is initially available to you, and the Fair Steel Alloy blueprint, which is available at rank 2. And from the fishing vendor, a couple of Merkay bait, which is available at rank 2, Norg bait, which is available at rank 3, and Cathol bait, which is available at rank 4. The reason for getting these specific baits and blueprints is that you will need them to rank up with the Ostron Syndicate. Azurite can be mined from any blue mineral veins, and Ferros can be mined from any red mineral veins, which you can refine with their respective blueprint. And the fish you will need bait for in order to catch and cut for their unique resources. The Warframe wiki also has a handy picture that will show you each type of biome you can hope to find these fish, with the Merkay being found in oceans, Norg being found in lakes, and Cathol being found in ponds. Cathol is unique in that it also requires you to throw your bait into a hotspot. Hotspots are identified by a splashing water animation that usually indicates rarer fish are in this spot. Throw your bait and die at the hotspot and wait for the baited fish to appear. There are also a handful of animals that inhabit the plains that you can capture if you acquire a trank rifle. A trank rifle is required for beast conservation. This rifle can only be obtained from the open world social hubs on Venus and Deimos, and the only reason for doing beast conservation on the plains is for decoration and cosmetic items for your pets in Orbiter. We will cover beast conservation in a different video when we cover Fortuna's open world. The importance of the beast on the plains is that when they are killed, they will drop unique resources that are needed for building Zaws and a couple of frame parts. Flying animals on the plains drop Kondrak wings, and grounded animals drop Kuaka spinal claws. Not only will you need mining and fishing materials to rank up, you also need specific resources that are unique to the plains. With Grok Jewel being found in Grineer camps, Iridite being found in low elevated areas, Nisselpods being found in mountainous areas, and Maprico being found all over the plains. There is a handy picture posted on the Warframe forums that details the general location you can find all of these resources. It is important to note that these resources and mineral veins are all procedurally generated, so it is not guaranteed you will find these resources at their detailed location. In addition, depending on the bounty tier you head into the plains with, it will increase the amount each of these resources will give you. This applies specifically to the resources found on the plains and the resources dropped by beasts, not the fishing or mining veins. Just make sure you have the mods equipped Loot Radar and Vacuum on your companion. If you're planning on farming these resources, set yourself to solo, queue the highest bounty, ignore the objectives, and find your resources. Head back to Cetus through the gates to keep your resources. Do not abort the mission through the pause menu, as you will lose all of your resources. The resources Iridite and Grok Jewel are also needed to be able to use your Archwing on any open world zone. First, you must have completed the Archwing quest. Second, join a clan that has the Archwing launcher segment researched. Ask the recruiting channel or ask a friend if you can join theirs. Once in a clan, enter your dojo and fast travel to the Tenno Lab. You can buy an Archwing launcher segment for 15,000 credits. Back at your foundry, you can make this segment with 50 Grok Jewel, 50 Iridite, and 1200 Oxium. Oxium can be found on Phobos, Jupiter, Pluto, Lua, and even rewarded from Ostron bounties. Once built, you can equip your Archwing to your gear wheel, which you can then use on any open world zone. Keep in mind that the plains is a hostile environment occupied by the Grineer, so if you do head out to the plains for mining, fishing, or resource hunting, you will be attacked by them. It is advised to bring any stealth-based frames, like Loki or Ivara, and remain stealth while doing these activities. Alternatively, Rhino's iron skin can keep you protected during these activities. All of these resources will be utilized to build a variety of items in your foundry. If you are interested in knowing which resources are necessary to build specific items, you can check the wiki to see what resources are required for each blueprint. Before we get to Zaws, it is important to note that you should max out your syndicate rank with Ostron before considering building these customizable weapons. The reason being is that you will need many of the mining blueprints from the mining vendor to be able to craft Zaw parts, and many Zaw parts will be locked from you until you reach rank 4 with Ostron. It is also important to note that although Zaws can be made into very powerful weapons, they are not needed to do a lot of content in this game. Zaws are mostly a way for players to make unique melee weapons that fit their needs. Zaws consist of 3 parts: strikes, which are the head of the weapon, determining the blade type, grips, which are the weapon's handle, which will determine the style of weapon, and links, which determine the stat bonuses of the weapon. Each part of the Zaw, in combination with each other, will determine its speed, damage, critical chance, and status chance. There is no correct method for building these Zaws and should be experimented with by the player. There are many websites such as the Wiki that will break down each part's stats, and even websites like Semlar.com where you can see each combination of Zaw's final stats before you farm out the resources in-game and build them. If you are just building Zaws for mastery rank purposes, keep in mind that only the strikes contribute to your personal mastery rank. If you don't care about Zaws but care about your mastery rank, I recommend building whatever parts you have an abundance of resources of so you can quickly make each Zaw. If you care about making the best type of each Zaw, I recommend asking the community in-game and doing a bit of research either on the wiki or on YouTube. Once you determine the Zaw you want to make, buy the correlating blueprints with standing points, farm out the resources needed to build them in your foundry, and then bring them back to the Zaw vendor on Cetus, to forge a Zaw. Zaws need to be leveled just like any other weapon in Warframe. The only difference is that when they hit rank 30, you must guild them with the Zaw vendor, which requires 5,000 standing points and 2 Cetus Wisps. Cetus Wisps can be obtained by doing bounties if they are in the reward list, bought from the Quills, which we will get to in a little bit if you are rank 5 for 2,000 standing points, or found near bodies of water within the plains. I find it easiest to check around the plains with loot radar equipped, and if I don't find any, exit the plains and check again. Keep in mind that Cetus Wisps will disappear if not captured quickly, so make sure you grab them before they disappear. Once your Zaw is gilded, you will be prompted to polarize a mod slot of your choice, and then name your weapon. This will reset your Zaw's rank, requiring you to level it up again. This will unlock an arcane slot for your Zaw, with some arcanes being purchasable from the Zaw vendor. The second syndicate found on Cetus is available once you complete Sia's Vigil and the War Within questlines, which fully unlocks your operator. The Quills can be found behind Kanzu, with it only being accessible by your operator. When first meeting the Quills, you will be given the Moat Amp, which is a starter amp given to you for free. Here you will notice the Quills Syndicate maxing out at rank 5, giving you full access to this vendor's wares. The purpose of the Quills is to get new combinations of amps, get arcanes for your operator and amps, cosmetic items, and to get the blueprint for the frame Revenant, which you will get from a quest given to you by the mask vendor when you reach rank 2 with the Quills. You will notice that the only way to rank up with this syndicate is by trading sentient cores, which you will obtain a fair amount of when doing Eidolon hunting. Eidolon hunting should be considered the uttermost endgame content in this game, and if you're just starting out, your main focus should be to learn mechanics, survive, and observe high-level players who are doing this content. This guide is in no way an Eidolon hunting guide, and instead a general overview of the mechanics and what you can expect. For some players, Eidolon hunting and speedrunning these bosses is their main focus when playing this game. There are countless in-depth guides on YouTube about Eidolon hunting, and if you get into this content, you should check those videos out. If you plan to take it easy and just play casually, don't worry though, as you will still be able to max rank with the Quills and get everything this vendor offers. Eidolon hunting is the act of taking on 3 endgame bosses that only spawn during the night cycle on the plains. You can access them by simply going to the plains at night, or you can accept a bounty from Kanzu, which will give you standing points with Ostron. This bounty only spawning the first Eidolon, and this bounty taking on the gauntlet of facing 3 separate Eidolons that progressively get more challenging. When you enter the plains at night, the first Eidolon called the Terrorist will be roaming around the plains. He can be spotted by a large blue light. When approaching him, you will notice your weapons do not do any damage. This is because the Eidolon is shielded and only void damage done by your operator's amp will break its shields. Once its shields are broken, it will make the Eidolon's limbs, which are these specific parts, vulnerable to your weapons. Most players use high crit weapons modded for radiation like the Rubico Prime to make quick work of the Eidolon's limbs. Once the Eidolon is down, it will cause an energy spike, which will emit magnetic damage, draining your energy or downing you. Hide in your operator's void mode to try and avoid getting downed. When the Eidolon finishes its energy spike, it will sink into the ground and teleport somewhere else. To avoid them from teleporting away, you have to capture Eidolon Lures. Eidolon Lures can be found in Grineer camps. There is a map on the Warframe wiki showing where each one spawns. Simply shoot them and hack them and they will follow you. These lures need to be charged by killing Vomvalyst, which are creatures that spawn around the plains or around the Eidolons only at night. Bring your lures to these Voms and shoot them. The Voms have a physical form and an energy form. In their physical form, they will take damage just like any other enemy. In their energy form, they will only take damage from your operator's amps. Bring your lures to these Voms when they are in their energy form, and the lures will absorb them. A lure requires 3 Voms to be fully charged up, indicated by its blue icon. Alternatively, if you kill a Vom in its energy form, with no lure present, they will drop a blue orb. Only one of these orbs can be picked up by the player, that you can then bring to a lure that will automatically absorb it from you. Occasionally, if there are too many Voms next to an Eidolon, they will start to heal them and make them invulnerable to players' attacks. Make sure you kill these Voms if you don't need them to charge up your lures. Once your lure is fully charged, bring it to the Eidolon. This lure will tether the Eidolon, meaning that when you shoot their limbs and it becomes downed, it will not teleport away to a different spot. If you did not fully charge any lures, and you go through the process of destroying each limb and finally killing the Eidolon, you will only receive 1 Eidolon shard and 1 arcane. You will also not be able to proceed to facing the second Eidolon. To capture them and receive the most amount of rewards, you must fully charge 2 lures, then proceed to attack the Eidolon. If you successfully capture the first Eidolon, your lures will be destroyed, giving you multiple sentient cores, an Eidolon shard, a brilliant Eidolon shard, and 1 arcane. Make sure you grab all of this loot. You will now be able to spawn the second Eidolon. The captured Eidolon will give you a special shard that you can now place at the shrine at Gara Lake in the center of the map. If you are in a squad, everyone has to put a shard in order to spawn the next Eidolon. The second and third Eidolon will spawn somewhere in front of the shrine, with the second and third fights being essentially the same as the first, but with increased health pools, more damage done to the player, more AoE abilities, and instead of requiring 2 fully charged lures to capture them, they require 3 fully charged lures. When successfully captured, they will reward even more sentient cores, Eidolon shards, and unique arcanes. If you are just starting Eidolon hunting, your starter amp or the moat amp will not do significant damage to the Eidolon shields. If you plan on going to the plains at night for Eidolon hunting, I recommend you set yourself to public and focus on just trying to survive, and if you feel confident enough, grabbing lures and charging them for your squad mates. Bring any frames that can support your squad like Harrow or Wisp, or even Rhino for his Iron Skin and Roar abilities. If you are in charge of the lures, make sure you stay close enough to the Eidolons so that they are tethered to them, and also make sure to move your lures out of the way of AoE attacks. If your lures take enough damage, they will be destroyed and you will have to hack more of them and fully charge them up again. Alternatively, head to Cetus a couple of minutes before the night cycle, and ask around in relay or recruiting chat for an Eidolon carry. Many veterans will be more than happy to carry you through an Eidolon hunt. Once you have enough sentient cores, you can head back to the Quills and start trading them in for standing points. Keep in mind that like with Ostron, the Quills require certain items in addition to standing points to advance to the next rank. Needing 30 intact sentient cores and 60 Eidolon shards to reach max rank with the Quills. Sentient cores will also be used for a handful of items built in your foundry, and Eidolon shards can be transformed into focus points for your operator's focus schools, allowing you to obtain more focus points than your daily cap allows. When reaching rank 3 with the Quills, you can start to buy blueprints for a new amp to replace your starter amp. Like with Zaws, amps have 3 parts, with the prism determining the type of primary fire, the scaffold determining the type of secondary fire, and the brace providing enhancements for both the primary and the secondary. Commonly, the Warframe community will refer to amps not by the names of their parts, but by the series they were initially introduced to the game. If any player refers to their amp by 3 numbers, the first number will always be the prism, the second the scaffold, and the third the brace. When looking at the wiki, a player with a 1-2-3 amp will determine that they have a Raplack prism belonging to Series 1, a Shraxgun scaffold belonging to Series 2, and a Lauren brace belonging to Series 3. For Eidolon hunting, a semi-decent amp is the 1-2-3. When you get to Fortuna, the open world on Venus, more amp parts will become available to you that will further your progress in Eidolon hunting. For now, buy the blueprints, farm the resources from the plains needed to craft them in your foundry, and return to the Quills to assemble your amp. It will cost 4,000 credits to put them together. You will have to level your amp just like any other weapon in the game. Once your amp hits rank 30, you can gild it back at the Quills for 5,000 standing points. Gilding an amp will reset its rank, but once fully leveled, it will count towards your personal mastery rank. Gilding also allows you to put arcane enhancements, with some arcanes being available from the Quills. This should cover everything needed to know and how to get started in ranking up with both Ostron and the Quills. However, the Plains has a variety of items and activities to participate in, so here are some quick tips. Occasionally, once every few weeks, a Ghoul Purge event will take place in the Plains. During this event, Konzu will offer 2 bounties, in addition to his regular ones, that offer unique items, mods, and 2 weapons that are only obtained from doing these bounties, with Tier 1 offering a chance to get the Stubba, and Tier 2 offering the chance to get the Korrudo. You might have noticed running around the Plains during the daytime, unique enemy bosses known as Tusk Thumpers. There are 3 variants of Thumpers, with the weakest of the 3 being the Tusk Thumper, the Bull being a more advanced variant, and the Doma being the toughest variant. When destroyed, these Thumpers can drop mining, fishing, and plains resources in a variety of mods. And from the 2 advanced variants, a small chance for the Korrudo weapon blueprint. On the Warframe wiki, there is a picture detailing the general location these Thumpers might spawn. These Thumpers should spawn in any fresh session when entering the plains, with the chance of a more advanced variant spawning when on a higher level bounty mission. To kill a Thumper, mod your weapons for radiation, high damage, and crit, just like for the Eidolons. Shoot their legs, which will expose their weak spots, and continue to damage their legs till one blows up. Continue to do this and the Thumper should be destroyed, netting you its resources. If you plan to farm resources found on any open world, any frame with AoE capabilities like Limbo's 4th ability, modded for high range, will allow you to quickly grab up resources. Make sure you have a vacuum mod and loot radar equipped on your companion. This is also a quick way to kill beasts found on the plains for their resources. Once you've completed the quest Size Vigil from Ostron, and the Mask of the Revenant quest available to you from the Mask vendor when reaching rank 2 with the Quills, their blueprints will become available to you. To get their components, they will be available from the bounties offered by Konzu, with tier 1 through 3 offering Gara's components, and 3 through 5 offering Revenant's components. Additionally, the tier 5 bounty will offer components for the Furax Wraith melee weapon. From these bounties, you can also obtain focus lenses, with the reward list randomly offering 1 to 3 lenses belonging to a specific focus tree. If you've acquired these lenses, they can be applied to your max rank weapon or frames that, when applied, convert 1.25% of your affinity gained into focus points that can then be used to fill out your focus trees. These focus lenses can also be upgraded. If you have 4 focus lenses of the same type, you can buy a greater focus lens off the Warframe marketplace that can be crafted in your foundry. The greater focus lens converts 1.75% of your affinity. The greater lens can also be converted into an Eidolon lens if you get lucky enough to get one from a tier 5 bounty. The Eidolon lens converts 2.25% of your affinity. And finally, an Eidolon lens can be converted to a Lua lens, which is obtainable from the Disruption mission Apollo on Lua. It has an 8% chance to drop after the C rotation, which occurs every 4 rounds. A Lua lens converts 3.25% of your affinity. Many of the focus lenses, resources, mods, weapon parts, and much more can be bought or traded between players with Platinum. If you have extra Platinum to spend and don't want to grind out the many items that come from the plains, you can search for the items you need on the Warframe market site. And with that, you should be prepared to tackle the many hours of gameplay associated with the Plains of Eidolon. Keep in mind that the other open worlds in this game essentially have the same vendors, bounties, and activities you can interact with the only differences being how you rank up with their syndicates and the vendors selling specific items to aid you in their open world zones. If this guide has helped you, then you should be able to tackle the other open world zones, such as Venus's Vomvalyst and Deimos's Cambion Drift. And finally, if you enjoyed this video or it helped you in any way, please like, share, and comment. Feel free to subscribe to keep updated and get notified when I release new guide videos. If I am missing anything covering the Plains of Eidolon, or you want to help your fellow players out, please leave some feedback. If you want help live, you can join me on Twitch every Thursday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye out for my next guide covering Fortuna's open world, Vomvalyst.